Hey guys, we are back. Let me see if I got this working right. All right, so I'm live streaming on Facebook, I'm live streaming on LinkedIn, and I'm live streaming on YouTube all at the same time. All right, we're going to do some a little different tonight, guys, because I have a webinar that I want to tell you about, and everything I'm going to talk about for this week is going to be directly related to my webinar. All right, so tonight we're going to talk very briefly about ADHD and procrastination, right? A lot of men, especially, experience this for various reasons. And what I want to do is, I want to show you how you can transmute things that in your mind are problems, are hangups, are disabilities, simply by changing the way that you think about it and how you use it and looking at a different angle of it, right? So listen, everything we have in this life is multifaceted. Nothing is like a piece of paper. Even a piece of paper has two sides, right? And even a piece of paper has the edge. Paper seems harmless, but if you ever given yourself a paper cut, it's quite painful, and it's just paper, right? So now you see that even just a piece of paper, even that has two or three different facets to it, right? You can wrap something in it, like a gift. You can write things on it. You can turn it into a paper airplane. So when we think about ADHD, let's start with ADHD, right? Let's just get right into it. So I'm just going to write a couple things down, all right? So what do you think of when you think of ADHD? So one thing that people think of is somebody being hyper, right? So let's write hyper. Another thing is can't concentrate, maybe can't focus, right? And if anything comes up, please go ahead and put it in the comments. Uh, Focus, no focus, no concentration, right? Okay, so what's another thing you all think of? Let's see, medication. That is like something medical. It's a medical condition, right? So we're gonna write. Let's see, Adderall. 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 And we're not saying that these medications don't help people or that they work. We're not saying that. We're just playing a word association game for now. Okay. So what is actually going on, because it's multifaceted again, as can be caused by multiple things at the same time, right? If you've read some Gabor Mate, you may say, oh, that's because of trauma. So let's go ahead and write it down. Okay, so I'm going to write trauma right here. Make sure you guys can see it. Maybe I'm too be closer like this. Yeah, so let's write trauma, right? So I'm going to share with you one perspective that I got from a book, and this is not the only other perspective. There's multiple other perspectives, and you can generate your own perspective about things, right? Watch this. So think of Tom Hartman. Yeah, so Tom Hartman, he's a radio host, and he has a book called ADHD: A Hunter in a Farmer's World, right? So we're going to wipe this away, and we are going to right? Hunter and farmer. So the first distinction of tonight is hunter versus farmer. Okay. And I'm trying to look up at the camera so I don't. When you're on these live streams, you tend to look at yourself. Hunter versus farmer. In a farmer's world. So the idea here is that the hunter has to hyper focus, and he's waiting in the blind with his bow and arrow, with his gun, right? This goes back to like sort of ancient genes, like when we were hunters and gatherers, that there's a gatherer type of person, and there's a hunter type of person, and the hunter type of person, those genes get carried on, and so those skill sets get carried on, right? And that the idea is, well, we're in a farmer's world, and I'll tell you what the problem with that is. If you can guess what the problem is, please go ahead and send me put in the comments, what you put in the chat, what you think the problem with this is. What is my problem with this, right? If you've listened to my other live streams, what the problem is should be obvious, all right? So hunter in a farmer's world, right? The idea is, well, the farmer is somebody who can sit at their desk, at their computer. Most of us listening to this have some sort of office or desk job. We probably work in tech, probably work in an office, right? And the farmer is the office person who can sit and who can take care of their tasks and see and not be impatient for some sort of result, and can think, who can be patient and wait, years, maybe decades for this work that they're doing to pay off. Whereas the ADHD person is always looking for the next thing, looking to jump, looking to shortcut, maybe, right? All right, so that's one definition. Now, it's useful. It's useful in that you get to think of yourself as a hunter. Fine. Where it's not useful is that it pits you against the world. So you're still a victim of the world. You see why I don't like it? Right? It was a great book at a certain time, at a time when in my life when I needed it, right? Right. But now we are trying to take as much of an ownership on our experience of the world, in creating our experience of the world and of other people and of ourselves as possible. Okay. What does this have to do with launching a business, right? The thing that this has to do with launching a business, and this is where it's going to help you, is often when you are taking business courses or reading books, you're reading the E-Myth, you are maybe taking some business classes at your local junior college. Maybe you have a mentor. Maybe you have joined a little like business networking group, or maybe you are taking one of the many like make money online courses, right? Okay, here's where we drop off. If ADHD is really hyper focusing on things that you're interested in, right? The common denominator, what's the common denominator? Is that we are hyper focusing on things that we're interested in. When we're a hunter, we're interested in eating, right? So we can hyper focus on the deer or the elk or the warthog, and we can sit there with our bow and arrow and we can wait, right, for hours because we are hungry, right? So how does this play out when when your mind fixates on a certain thing that has nothing to do with eating? It's just something that you're interested in, right? For example, when I was in college, I would be able to lose track of time making music. I was making beats, like drum and bass and hip hop and stuff, right? And I'd look up and it was 3 a.m. and I'd be like, oh, what happened? I thought it was 10 a.m. I've been working for 5 hours. So what's going on is that, and we're not talking about biology here, we're just talking about how this manifests, right? What's going on is that you hyper focus on things that you care about, and very simply, you struggle to focus on things you don't care about. Now you say, what about all the things I need to do? Right? Just like the E-Myth, I have to be a manager. I have to have operations, right? In order to run and launch a business. Even if I'm a consultant, I have to deal with emails. I have to answer the phone. I have to have meetings sometimes with clients. Well, I don't want to do that. I just want to do design work, or I just want to be a speaker or something, right? All right, fair enough. So let's talk about hyper focusing. Hyper focusing. Focus. What if you didn't have to focus on those things? What if you just did it and didn't worry about it? So here's my point. If you lean in to what you do focus on, then you just may have something of value that you can trade with other people. You can trade. So, for example, if you're a blacksmith, you don't have to know how to uh, take care of horses. You trade your blacksmithing skills for the horse trading skills to come in and help you with your horses, right? If you are a blacksmith, you don't have to know how to farm, but you can trade skills with a farmer, and you can create partnerships with them, right? So what if the hyper focusing is trying to tell you something? It's trying to tell you, hey, maybe there's something to this focusing here. And often, maybe our teachers and maybe our parents told us to, stop focusing on music, for example, or on reading. You're always reading these books. Well, that's a clue. So if we took it as a clue, maybe you should be a writer, right? And you have a business around you. You have employees, you know, but you're a writer, or you're a screenwriter, or you're a game designer. Is this making sense to you? So follow. So the point here is you can choose to follow the focus. Yeah, but again, what about all those other things I need to be able to do? Okay, I'm going to slow down a little bit and let's go back to when we picked up a lot of these judgments from other people, right? Because we were told that, for example, you know, to do well in life, you have to do well in school. Yeah, well, if you have ADHD, there may be one or two or all of the classes you really don't care about. Right? So this one course I took said the easiest fix is to center your life around what you do focus on. Is that easy? No, it's not easy. It takes work because we've been exercising these muscles. We've been building up big muscles of trying to force ourselves to focus on things that we really don't care about. And then we wonder why the work quality is not that great. We wonder why we forget things, we miss things. We wonder why we have to medicate ourselves. Imagine having to medicate yourself, or use coffee to medicate yourself, or use caffeine to medicate yourself to be able to do your work. What kind of life is that? What is that? What is that? Were we meant to do that? Think about it, right? So if we follow the focus, there actually is no problem. Okay, so here's a new perspective, right? You think about a lot of the people who you maybe look up to. What if they're just following their focus? Oh, great! This scientist, Michio Kaku, for example, talks about physics a lot. He's on NPR a lot. Don't you think it's possible that he just loves physics, and you may not, and that's okay, right? We all love different things, and that can just be okay. That can just be okay. All right. Follow the focus. Okay. So ADHD is simply following your focus. And maybe the trouble is that we keep resisting. And we may have to make some life choices. If we love herbs and herbalism and healing, and we are stuck doing software development, yeah, maybe we should on the side make and do some switches, or we can combine the two, right? Especially if we build up a little bit of tolerance for working on things that are not really interesting to us, those are still skills. We can use all those skills. I'm not saying you have to throw all those things away, because over time, tolerance is valuable. Patience is valuable. Being able to sit with something for a long time and not necessarily uh, enjoy it the same way you enjoy maybe reading a graphic novel. Right? And I'm picking a lot of creative examples because that's kind of stuff I like. I like music and graphic novels and comic books and reading and science fiction, but it applies to everything, right? The reason why you versus the guy next to you who just sits there and loves programming, he actually loves programming. There are people who love programming. I know people who love it. They could. They go home and do programming. They don't feel forced to take this role because they think it's going to pay them more money. They go home and they do their own programming, right? Just like me, I do design all day and then go home and do some more design just because I love it, right? This thing I'm doing right now, I love sitting and teaching people things, right? If I loved writing, you'd be reading an article. You'd be reading an article. Now you can transmute that. There's ways to transmute that. So, for example, and I've talked about this in my previous live streams, if I want to write a book, my way of writing a book is I'm talking. I'm talking for maybe 3-4 hours at a time, and I'm going to use AI to transcribe it, or I'm going to hire somebody to transcribe it for me, or partner with an editor, right? If you don't like sales, partner with somebody who loves sales. There are people who love sales. Don't ask me why. There are people who love it, right? So the other distinction we have to think about is that people are different, right? Not everybody thinks like you, right? And that's a good thing because then we're able to form teams, all right? So follow the focus, and that's ADHD. All right, let's erase that. Now we're going to go to procrastination. Procrastination. All right. So is this the same topic as ADHD, ADD? No, it's not. It's not. Because we're not talking about focus here. We're talking simply about getting things done. Because you may procrastinate on things that you actually love as well sometimes, right? So what's going on? And this is one perspective. Actually, let's stop and think about what we currently think common consciousness about procrastination. We think somebody is being lazy or undisciplined. Undisciplined, right? Or lazy. Procrastination. What else? Come on, guys. What else? Procrastination, putting things off. Putting things off. Um, let's think of one more word, and then we'll do the mind shift, and we will talk about the new perspective. Okay? Think of one more, guys. Come on. We have undisciplined, lazy, putting things off, wasting time. All right. What if what's actually going on is very simple? What if you just don't want to do the thing in that circumstance at that point in time in that way? And what if it just takes a shift for you to be able to do it? So, for example, am I procrastinating on writing a book? Or should I just not be writing a book? Or should I generate all my content first, talking like I am now, and then go back and edit a bunch of pages of content? That's not being lazy. Right? What if there is a judgment around this particular task? So, for example, what if your teacher or your parents scared you about homework? And guess what? You now struggle to turn in homework. Are you procrastinating? Are you being lazy? Are you pulling it off? Are you putting it off? Are you undisciplined? Or is there something inside that your nervous system is reacting to and saying, no, we're going to throw up every other, all kinds of distractions? That's another word, distraction, right? Distracted. And we use this all the time. We use this very disempowering language. I let myself be distracted, or I got lazy, got tired. Instead of saying and being honest, like, I don't want to do it, right? That's actually the honest reason. You don't even have to know why. You can just have a sense of, I don't want to do it. And then we can have a conversation. Well, does that thing really need to be done in this way right now? Because also tasks and activities are multifaceted as well. What if you realize that you can write if you go to the library? Oh, well, you should be able to just do it at home. Oh, why? So there you go again. Another judgment that you've picked up over time. So let's draw a little circle. Let's do this again. We're gonna draw a circle. And our circle has a goal, right? And this is the thing that we want to do. And judgments are blocking you from getting to the circle. Right? Judgments here, there, surrounded by all of these judgments. What would happen if we remove them? Well, it's very possible that you could actually get it done. Another thing, I think it's there's a principle that says work will expand the time allotted to it, right? And if you give somebody who procrastinates a lot or struggles with procrastination, say writing a term paper, write a term paper, 10 pages. If you give them a week to do it, they'll do it Friday night of that week. If you give them a month to do it, they'll do it the last day of the month. If you give them one day to do it, they'll get it done maybe at midnight. What if you give them 3 hours to do it, right? Those of us who have taken advanced placement courses, we've written several pages in like an hour, right? And we're just flowing because we have an hour. So what if it's just putting time? Like I use this app called FocusMate, where we have 25-minute to 50-minute sessions. And within this little time box, it's almost like a little container. It's like Darth Vader's meditation chamber. That's how I think of it personally, right? Where in this meditation chamber, it comes down and I get certain things done that I could get done, but it would probably take me several hours of distracting myself and procrastinating to do. Does that make sense? All right. So now we know that we can shift our perspective on these things and it becomes something else, right? Instead of lazy or undisciplined or distracted, and these things you may carry with yourself. What if we stripped everything away and created some new constraints. Take away the judgments, add constraints. I'm going to write that down. Then it's like that book, Releasing the Brakes. That's actually what that book, Releasing the Brakes, is about. It's about releasing all of the judgments that you have around a thing that you're trying to accomplish, right? So we are going to remove judgments, and we're going to add constraints. Why do I want constraints? I want to be free. I want to be free, right? Well, all kinds of things are constraints. One thing that makes Legos work so well is that Legos has a constraint. Like you have to connect it a certain way. There's certain shape constraints. It's not there are infinite shapes. There's a certain number of shapes, and you have to work within that. There's a certain number of colors. There's a certain width and a certain height you're forced to work with. Almost like in design, we have like design systems for websites and applications, right? So constraints can often get you up and running, just like the FocusMate website I use, right? So if you can combine these things and you compress, you can get a lot done very fast, right? And if you follow the focus. So we're going to add to that, plus follow your focus. What this really comes down to is you putting yourself in the driver's seat. You are in the driver's seat of your life and what you are building. And I'm going to share in my webinar on Saturday, December 16th, I'm going to share three powerful distinctions that once you get it, it's like a light is going to go off in your mind and you'll never forget it. And you don't need me, you don't need anybody. You are going to see who you have been being thus far. You will see the contrast in your programming versus the new programming I'm going to give you. And you can see, I see the problem with that, or I see how that has been in my way, but it's been so close to me, I haven't been aware of it. So I'm going to show you three of them. And once you do that, you can launch anything you want. Are there more ideas and distinctions? Of course there are, but there's three really important ones. And I'm going to give them to you this upcoming Saturday. All right. So the link is below, zaidhisham.com/webinar. Okay. And the webinar is called Launch Your Dream Business in 30 Days. With or without me. You don't need me. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and end the stream now. And I hope you guys got something out of this. Remember, remove the judgments. This is an entire book, but I can explain this. I'll explain this another day this week. Add constraints and follow your focus. Today we talked about ADD and procrastination, guys. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream. You guys have a good night. Take care.